Boom! What's going on, guys? 360 digital closing bell here. Week ahead podcast episode. Holy smokes, guys. Episode 55 here on this gorgeous October 12th, 2020. Time stands about 6:26 a.m. here on this Monday. We'll be getting out this to you really quickly here. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, director and publisher of the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com, international man of mystery, Stuart Turley. How you doing today?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and it is Monday.
It is Monday, and, I don't necessarily have the Sunday scaries. I more have the Sunday tireds, as in I just know how tired I'm going to get all week, so I just end up getting it. 2 o'clock comes around and my body's like, shut down, get ready. So we actually have we've got some fun stuff to do this week. It's a wildly busy news week. There's so many, the changing U.S. oil dynamics are unbelievable, and we'll get into some of the supply side stuff here coming up. Natural gas took off last night, but it was only the front month contract, so we'll kind of cover some of those demands. Stu's got a bunch of stuff in the international news desk talking about Turkey. We might chat some peace deals. You claim that's coming up. We'll see what happens. As always, we'll cover the levels for both natural gas and crude oil. Take a little bit of the commitment to traders, see what he says that, and then we'll get you out here, finish you up early. Thanks for listening, because if you're listening to this probably Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, this means you're a loyal YouTube listener, and we appreciate that. And if you are, email me, mtannerinc.com, and just type YouTube, okay? This is easy instructions, okay? Email me in the show notes, mtannerinc.com. Just type in the title, subject line YouTube, in the subject, and then in the thing, just be like free swag. And I'm going to send you some free swag. I promise you, okay? I want to see how many people listening to YouTube do this, okay? Because for the next probably like Friday show, long form show, this show, and maybe Fridays, I don't know if they're going to be on iTunes and Spotify right away. We're cranking out so much content. Not that we got throttled. It's just our podcast hosting service. We have to upgrade to some pro subscription. And so now we have to, they make you go through a salesperson. Like, can we just upgrade, please? Like, why do I need to go through a salesperson just to pay $25 more? But hey, whatever. That's what we're dealing with. So if you're listening to this today, thank you. You're a loyal YouTube subscriber. You can also generally find this show on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. But right now it's a little behind the scenes. But before we dive into all of that, guys, this show is brought to us by the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com. The place for all of your energy news, energy market news, energy technology news. I mean, seriously, it's the one-stop shop to just figure out what's going on in the industry. If you're trying to just keep up with what's going on in the industry, there's no better website to go to. I'd also recommend going to the 360 News Desk, which is a page on there that personally I curate. I mean, we work with the whole website, but when you want to, for someone like me who's who's an oil trader interested in what's going on in the U.S. upstream, it's the place to find all of your U.S. upstream and crude oil news. We call it the 360 News Desk, available. You can find another tab, 360 Energy Expert. I mean, you're going to get charts. You're going to get all of your top news, equity overview tables, all the latest podcasts and content from us. You'll be able to find this link in the show notes, so check that there. You should also check out the Energy 360 podcast by Intercom. It's a podcast that Stu runs on energy, thought, leadership. Great guests. Well, who do you have rolling out this week?
Oh, we got a few of them. I got another note from a professor in Europe that we're going to be doing. He just put out a white paper that's very cool, and got some others.
Interesting. So I think we have Steve Reese Midstream Consulting, coming out this week.
Yep.
We've got a couple in the backlog, but yeah, check that out. iTunes. That one is available. iTunes, Spotify. You can check those out on podcasts. Also available on the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com. It was kind of funny, guys. We were sitting here trying to it was a weird weekend for both news and what the outlook is going to look like moving forward. I think, obviously we're going to get into some Hurricane Delta fallout. Part of what's driving natural gas prices up. There's also some interesting supply sides. But I think it's important, Stu, to start in the international news desk today. And because there's some really interesting things going on, specifically in the world, that's affecting the way the U.S. oil price trades.
You bet. You got your flight suit on?
I Actually, no. I had to fly. I was in, for those of you, for the loyal fans of the daily energy market summary that we do kind of live on YouTube every single day at around 2 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. I was in DC for a wedding / slight business. And so I had to fly to get to DC. They made me backtrack to San Francisco, then fly from San Francisco to DC because COVID, I guess. There's not a direct flight from Denver United, but they got to stuff 3 people in a row. It's pretty funny, actually. I mean, I'm all for it because I don't, doesn't necessarily bother me that there's 3 people in a row, but there were people getting heated, Stu, that there were packing this flight up. It was pretty nutty. But I had to fly back last night. I'm good traveling. So can we do this at warp speed at least?
Oh, on the news desk. Okay, let me start going a little faster. And first trip
I'm mostly kidding because I mostly kidding because only mostly dead. Really what's going on the international side has moved markets. So we need to cover this fully.
Okay. First up is India, and India is now approaching the COVID numbers up to the US. So first time that's happened, and you take a look at demand. This article we just put on the news desk, notice the nice new graphics there. It's really showing that their gas, their airline fuel, the oil demand, every LPG is not coming back. So that's one of the major sources of exports to the US is not coming back. The next one that we have coming around, we've swung around to the Mediterranean and OPEC. Turkey was part of the peace deals that were going to come around this week, and you take a look at instead of signing a peace deal this week with the Club Mediterranean and everybody else, they are now saber rattling because evidently they didn't get their way and they're like a 2-year-old in the corner having a tantrum. They issued a statement that their Navy is now going through 2 other vessels and doing exploration right off the Greek island of Castero. So here was one of my peace deals went up in flames this morning. Thank you, Turkey. But this feeds into Libya. And we ran this Libyan story because Turkey and Libya are like brother and sister-in-law. And as we know, Libya was started out, they were losing money. They had no business doing, they had no ability to do any oil business. Turkey stepped in and all of a sudden they started just producing and overproducing. This was driving OPEC nuts. Okay. And so OPEC tried to beat them in the nose with a rolled up newspaper, and it didn't happen. So all OPEC could do was sit there and shake their head. Well, you have Turkey, Libya, and all this energy going on in there. And now you have the Libyan output hit its 300,000 barrels per day. This brings up OPEC. OPEC, all of its players have been overproducing. And so you see the balance between demand and overproducing. Demand is low and OPEC is overproducing. And they said that Saudi Arabia is 9 million barrels per day. You look at the charts and they say they're going to decrease to 9.1 million or they're always staying the flat. OPEC numbers mean nothing. So everybody cheats. It's kind of like, what's that game, Big Brother or something? Where everybody's cheating on somebody. So,
and I think the problem, and not the problem is, they're allowed to produce what they want to produce. OPEC can control. It's just those decisions and the actual news that's rolling out and the fallout from that is what's really hampering oil prices right now. Now, I mean, oil's trading, we're talking It's only down 1.5%. Only down 57 cents. I mean, it reached, talk about on the open, it reached, or, yesterday, it was 41.30 before it sort of fell off a cliff before the market closed. And we're only down about 57 cents. But, 300,000 barrels coming back on the market from Libya is just now another piece of this whole supply side issue that's going on with oil and gas. I mean, with the oil production, we've got 92% of Gulf of Mexico production offline. That's we've got Norway strikes. They're now over.
That was 8% of the entire Norway.
It was 900,000 barrels. I mean, that's a decent chunk of change right there. You add that's 300,000. That's 1.2 million barrels between two news events over 4 days. That in a time when 9 to 10 million barrels is probably permanently wiped off the market just due to the demand.
Yeah, and then you take somebody like India, and they wipe out a good chunk of their demand. They're one of the largest demand users in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah. It's just, for me, so what does this all mean going forward? Okay, so we have all these supply issues. How does that impact what's going to happen on oil? Obviously, that's putting a cap on oil. And I think it's when we look at the commitment of traders, we're going to see everybody not short the market, but everybody's moving away from the long side of the equation, specifically on oil. I've been hearing whispers, Stu, that not whispers, but there are other countries shutting down. Are we going in for a round 2 of lockdowns? I mean, not that, whether we agree with them or not, if they come into place, the majority of Americans are going to take them seriously. So that's going to completely evaporate how many people are driving, all of that stuff. Now, is that going to be offset by maybe the amount of, home energy use happens? I don't know. We can play that game all day long. But obviously, if a second round of lockdowns come, it's going to continue to hurt back. So I'm not nervous, but I am. And when I say I think $40 is a little too highly valued even at this point, which sucks because $40 is at least a level where companies can survive. Now, are they hiring? No. Are they firing? Yeah, maybe a little bit. Chevron's making their people reapply. Not good. We covered that on the show Friday. Me and Stu probably wouldn't get our jobs if we had to reapply for them. We probably wouldn't. So
our department would be remolded and folded into another department.
They could at least find somebody to wear a goddamn polo on the show. At least they got this bum just wearing t-shirts. But yeah. So I don't know, Stu. The way all of this is falling out from a supply side makes me very nervous. You know what I mean? It just makes me extremely nervous that we might see, $30, $35 if we continue to go along this path. Now, is that likely? No, I've just turned a lot more bearish over this whole weekend than I think I'm usually fairly neutral to bull just because I like to be a glass half full. It's funner. It's funner to be positive than it is to be negative. That's just my opinion. But I don't know. I mean, we're going to see this Gulf of Mexico production come back. So, I mean, we're going to see that specifically on the oil side come back. It's about 1.6 million.
The downstream, Michael, had gotten really whacked. This is what they're.
Well, we'll cover the downstream because we got to talk about natural gas prices. I mean, you want to talk about what natural gas is doing. November 2020 contract, $2.88. October 2021 contract, $2.90. We're talking about that split in 12-month strip is 2 cents. Oh, yeah, there's some interesting things. We'll cover that. But on the crude oil side, I don't know. It's starting in my eyes to show from just more weakness longer term. And it's clear now OPEC. I mean, do we think we all knew OPEC was going to cheat? I mean, we you can go back and listen to our episode 4 of this show. That's what we were saying. OPEC's going to cheat. But to see those numbers now come in and see them as bad as we thought, and in some cases worse, it's still going. I mean, it's a, buy the rumor, sell the news, but sometimes it's sell the rumor, then you still sell the news because it's just as bad as everybody thought. I mean, so
A lot of this was impacted by Russia, OPEC plus, because honestly, the prince in Russia wanted to shut down the U.S. Shale market because our exports of LNG around the world, as well as us being energy independent, is what they wanted to shut down. It worked. Um, are we still energy independent for now?
yeah, I mean that's a whole nother conversation.
But it's all
Do we
played.
even need to be energy independent?
It went.
Ooh, do we even need to be energy independent?
Yes.
Ooh, okay, but like solely U.S. production?
I NAPAC, North American.
Because I can get behind that. I actually am not in the camp that believes the United States solely as itself should try to attempt to become energy independent. It's too, we got other more pressing issues, and we have neighbors up in Canada that will gladly sell us as much oil as we want.
I firmly believe if we traded with North and South America, we would eliminate 80% of our political oil pricing. Personal opinion.
That's a lot. I think the issue is when you get down to things like jet fuel and some of these more refiner fuels, man, it helps to have that heavy Venezuelan crude. Or, when you want to,
Last time I checked, Venezuelan is in South America.
yeah, they're true. Okay, so now you're saying, okay, well, you wanted to be energy independent to now trading with two continents. I can get behind a very controlled in which we do that, but the idea that when people say
Mhm.
the United States should become energy independent, what do you mean by that, dude?
I mean, no, North America
APEC.
and APAC. But Venezuela is trading with Iran, so you have to be careful on which ones you do involve with.
Oh yeah, and I'm not saying we would buy that. I'm just saying there are different types of crude around the world that service certain things better.
Oh, you bet. And
So
not everything can run on light, sweet Texas crude.
no, sometimes you need that Russian gas, unfortunately. Um, all that being said, I'm kind of rambling. I look at these headlines both from an international perspective. I've turned now. I don't want to say perma bear, but my first inclination when I look at a chart to set up how I think prices are going to go. I'm going to start from a bear perspective, and you're going to have to convince me that this week will be bullish. That's how I'm going to take, at least for the next couple weeks,
On oil.
on oil.
Right.
Don't get me started on natural gas because that's going all over the place. Do we do that now? What else do we have?
That,
We
that's it for crude
The
demand.
international side. I'd be remiss if we didn't. We might as well cover the U.S. Hurricane Delta situation.
Russia.
That actually, what's up?
I got one more on Russia.
Oh, speaking of Russia, speaking of
Yes.
Russian gas,
Russia's 30 cents on their gas, by the way, is pretty incredible. Hey, our buddy over at Tesla put in a battery plant over in China. Um, Russia's state atomic energy launches lithium battery storage business unit. So they're taking their atomic group, which has built 3 nuclear reactors,
yep.
and they're now getting into the lithium business because we talked about Russia. 30% of Russia's GDP is oil and gas. We've talked about the total demand demolishment for oil. That's a big chunk of Russia's income. So Russia is now joining in on the lithium battery with their mines and everything else. So they're turning their companies that were making nuclear into battery makers. Thought that was very interesting considering the dynamics of oil and everything else. Thanks.
That's interesting. That is interesting.
And Elton or our Elon Musk owns the only car company in China that is 100% foreign owned. Everything else is owned either by the Communist Party or partially owned by somebody else.
Interesting. We'll go Elon. I mean, I'm down. I think Teslas are sweet, and to be honest, Tesla's using more energy than the average car company. So I'm game. I'm game. If you do a peer analysis over the total energy consumption of Tesla as a company versus how much their quote unquote cars save, it's unbelievably funny how skewed it is. Like, it's just it cracks me up. We'll have to do it someday on the show. I'll have to dig it out of my old papers. I did a cross sectional analysis on this in college.
That's one of the guys we have coming up. I just had him confirm here this morning. I'll get you the name later, but he wrote a white paper on how by 2040, if everybody 2035, everybody's carbon neutral, there'll be more pollution than the plastics in the ocean and any other pollution thanks to green energy. So we'll have that conversation coming up.
Go green. All right, Natty gas time. Because first thing I did, I sat down this morning. Well, I did this last night because I checked the futures right when they opened. So I knew this last night. But front month contract, $2.88, up 5%. Ooh, interesting. What's that back end of the curve? Back end of the curve. October 2021. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, not October. We want November. Excuse me. Roll that November baby over. $3.23, only up 1.4 percentage points. What's going on, Stu? That differential. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Super slim. And we're talking technically 12-month strip is $2.91, but that rolls here soon. So I'm going to go with because natural gas runs every month. Our futures for commodities, they roll every month, those contracts. Commodity, indices, our commodity industry futures, S&P, our ES, NQ, DJ, they roll on a quarterly basis. You get like 4 rolls, 5 rolls a year. So that's why it's actually funner to long-term trade those bad boys, because you can hold them longer. You don't have to get in and out of your position. So, your 12-month strip anywhere between $2.90 and, $3.23. Okay. That's what your 12 to 13, 14 month. I mean, that's your year outlook right there. That's a range. That spread, unbelievable, considering what everybody's been telling us, Stu. Everybody's been telling us $3.50, $4 gas. I don't know if I see it, because when we look at why the front month contract is up so much, it's off it's off 2 things. Okay. Yeah. One, Hurricane Delta shut-ins. And that has not necessarily much to do with the amount of gas that was shut in. It wasn't as much gas as you would think. To give you an idea, how much gas was offline? 62%. Okay. So not as, it was 92% oil offline, only 62% gas. So it was a little more shifted to the oil side. That obviously is going to hurt the natural gas on its production side, or natural gas on the pricing side. Excuse me. But what really hurts is the LNG factories, both in Cameron and Sabine Pass. Those are 2 large LNG transportation or liquefied natural gas export plants that needed to be shut in. And so when we look at, and what happens when something gets shut in, what does that when it restrict the supply? There's now one less refinery who can pump natural gas every which way. So yep. We have to. So when we see one of those get shut in, that's a natural cost. So to give you an idea, according to inflow data or feed gas data, excuse me, Cameron LNG facility has taken nothing. Direct hit. and only a small glancing blow to Sabine Pass. There is some feed gas coming into it, but not its maximum capacity. If we can see a little bit more coming in, it'll be, that's a, the longer it's weird. Something closes down, huge hurricane event. Well, that spikes things. So that's kind of how you got to play this. And that's really what's driving natural gas and why you're seeing that convergence of those splits or 12-month strip in that front month, because the front month is being wildly affected by a news event happening right now, obviously.
What are you seeing on how long it will take to get Sabine Pass and the other one online?
They usually are able to flip, and I don't want to say usually because every hurricane affects it differently. If they shut these down for the hurricane, they don't operate them while the hurricane is going through. So if all it is, if it's just turning if there's no damage and all I have to do is turn the refinery back on, it's like 6 hours. You know what I mean? You can get that up and running very quickly if all it is just turning things on. But if you show up and all of a sudden your roof was blown off, one of your backup, one of the things that's really affecting the Lake Charles facility is not that they don't have power, it's they don't have their backup generators broken. And you are not allowed by regulations to operate a refinery without backup generation. That's one of the biggest. It's actually, I know a guy who works in the regulatory side and used to always tell me that big bucks are spent on how do you secure backup generators, because if you don't have that source always available, if your normal power goes out, or say you have power normally, your normal line has power, but your backup generator doesn't work or it's not passed inspection, you're not allowed to operate. U.S. station, and that's what's going on at Lake Charles right now. So that, who knows? Is the backup generation working? There's a host of issues that so to put a time, I don't know, couldn't tell you. If there's no damage, we'll see it come on quickly, and that's why we'll be checking out feed gas data. We're actually going to be maybe rolling out some sort of interesting dashboards on that, because there's some interesting stuff to be had on that. But once we start seeing that total gas hit back up, we will see, we might see a slight convergence. But talk about an unbelievable kind of convergence of these prices here. Do I think oil has, do I think there's staying power here? Yeah, I mean, natural gas is, now 292. Just give you an idea. So now, I mean, depending on what strip you're looking at, you're anywhere from 291 to $3.20. I mean, unbelievable. As well, so don't trade natural gas, because you get yourself on a run. It also looks like it's going to be cooler temperatures this week. That's the other thing. If you're interested, if you actually want to look at natural gas pricing on a week-to-week basis, got to look at a short-term weather outlook. And one of the best sites, Nat Gas Weather. I'd go to it. They're telling us 3 weather systems are going to impact the U.S. I check this every week. 3 weather systems impacting the U.S. to open the week. Obviously, Northwest, Midwest, and then the third over the Mid-Atlantic. Each are going to bring, it looks like it's going to be like 40 to 60 across the northern plains. Rest of the country is going to be 70s and 80s. Southwest will be 90s. Midwest is going to have a cold shot. Looks like the demand's going to be a little low through Thursday, increasing into the weekend based upon the that weather outlook. So give you an idea what prices do. I'm probably bullish till Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, probably going to be bearish Friday into the weekend. So, I know we need to start doing a little more natural gas on the show. I know we don't do much of it on the live show every day. We need to start doing a little more of it, because you think crude oil's fun to trade, and I say that facetiously. It can be it can be fun. What else we got here, Stu? It's just I don't want to say it was a lame weekend. I think it's what we needed. I was on vacation. I'm glad nothing crazy happened. Knowing my luck, I'm gonna go on vacation, and Chevron and Exxon are gonna merge. Oil's gonna spike to $70. We're gonna have Saudi Aramco splits into 5 different companies and sells. You know what I mean? That's gonna happen the week I decide to go on vacation.
I mean, last week when you have Saudi Aramco going one way and you got all the other majors going the other way, that was a huge news week last week. I put my money on Saudi Aramco for the long haul.
yeah, and I'm just
It was a busy
making.
week last week.
It was a busy week last week, and we'll have a busy week. Things will pop up, but this weekend was oddly quiet. I was expecting a bankruptcy or two, to be honest with you. I was expecting to have a bankruptcy or two, but
There's a couple pre-articles that came out. I'll try to shoot them over to you. We may have something this afternoon.
oh, well, they live to fight. Well, either way, they live to fight another day. Anything else we need to cover, Stu? I think we just need to let these loyal YouTube listeners finish up early.
I think so. We're going to have a busy week.
Let's do it. So with that, guys, all you loyal YouTube listeners, thank you for checking us out on the world's greatest website, the world's greatest YouTube channel, entercominc.com. For Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. There's no music today because we're just recording this via Zoom. So if imagine music playing right now and us getting a little funky, we will have a great week for you guys lined up. Check us out this afternoon for our daily live energy market summary available live on YouTube. I don't know actually if it'll be live today, but you can always find it on the world's greatest website, www.oilandgas360.com. We will see you guys this afternoon for the Digital Ticker.